will hurt you for this.
I am the sword in the darkness.
Lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Let me give you some advice, bastard.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
What is up, everybody? Jeremy Icenfire here, and welcome to the channel. Episode 3 of House of the Dragon is here, and in it we got to see a sneak peek of the disarray that both Team Green and Team Black seem to be descending into. Plus, a full frontal scene that was certainly not on my bingo card for this evening. The episode starts off with the Battle of the Burning Mill and the clash between the Blackwoods and the Brackens, as we see the introduction of young Benjicourt Blackwood. And at first, we see a small skirmish start to break out between Benjicourt and the other Bracken soldiers. Then all of a sudden, it flashes forward to the very ending of the battle and the carnage that is left behind. And although I would have enjoyed to see a little bit of this conflict play out on screen, especially considering how famous some of these events are during the Battle of the Burning Mill, and I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get a look at the older version of young Samwell Blackwood, who we met in Season 1 when we got our first glimpse of the Blackwood and Bracken rivalry. But unfortunately on the show, we only get a mere mention of his death during the battle, which is a little unfortunate considering how well they set him up in Season 1. We also saw in Episode 3 that the Greens are certainly starting to fall deeper and deeper into disarray, as it seems none of them can agree on a correct course of action going forward for the war, even more so now with Otto gone. But eventually, Crispin is successful in convincing Aegon to set him loose from King's Landing with a host of men in order to bend some houses to their will on their way to retaking Harrenhal, which of course is perfect setup for the big Battle of Rook's Rest that is coming next week. But across the bay on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra isn't faring that much better with her Black Council. And given the danger of them going to war and the potential of more assassins being sent to Dragonstone, Rhaenyra is taking steps to send her youngest children to safety. We also get some very interesting foreshadowing in this episode pertaining to Rhaena and her future with her potential dragon, Morning, as Rhaena departs from Dragonstone with a fresh batch of dragon eggs. Eggs that Rhaenyra is hoping will be the future of House Targaryen if the Dance of the Dragons doesn't go as planned. But up next, we finally see Daemon arriving at the castle of Harrenhal, and it looks like Daemon is arriving hoping to find himself a fight, and looks almost disappointed to find only a table of old men. But one thing we do see is the uncle of Lord Larys Strong seems to hold no love for Larys himself, and quickly yields Harrenhal to Daemon. And of course, we get our very first glimpse at the mysterious Alys Rivers, who makes quite an entrance in this episode, as we see Daemon seemingly start having some hallucinations. And the writers and director of the episode really wanted to showcase Daemon in a state where he couldn't tell what was real or fake, and I feel like that really came across well in this episode. It starts off with what looks like a banging at Daemon's bedroom door with someone seemingly trying to get in from the other side, which of course prompts Daemon to go and investigate, only to find no one in the hallway. But this of course does lead him to have a very strange vision of the younger version of Rhaenyra sewing on the severed head of young Jaehaerys, the son of Aegon, who was killed during Blood and Cheese. And right away, this scene instantly reminded me of the scene that Daenerys has in Game of Thrones when she visits the House of the Undying and has a similar vision. And seeing the severed head with his own two eyes, you really get the sense that Daemon does genuinely feel bad for setting this course of events into action. But next, we see Daemon seemingly snapping out of it as he wakes up in front of the Harrenhal weirwood tree, with the mysterious Alys Rivers also in attendance when he comes to, as she delivers a very chilling line about how Daemon will die in this place, which of course is a heavy foreshadowing for the Battle above the God's Eye. And although the episode leaves it a bit ambiguous, I think there are a few different possibilities as to what are causing these hallucinations for Daemon. The first of which being the curse of Harrenhal itself. After Aegon the Conqueror roasted Harren the Black and all of his sons, it is said that Harrenhal has been haunted ever since, with many strange occurrences happening throughout the years. And then of course there is the option that it is Alys Rivers herself who is sending Daemon these visions. If we look back to the beginning of Daemon's hallucination when someone is seemingly trying to get inside of his door, if we look at the bottom, we can clearly see the shadow of 2 feet standing in front of it. Could all of this potentially be the work of Alys Rivers trying to get inside Daemon's head? Based on Fire and Blood, we do know that Alys Rivers displays some level of supernatural abilities. And seeing as she is present when Daemon wakes up from the vision and delivers that very prophetic line, it starts to make you think that maybe Alys Rivers is in control of all of this. And then, of course, there is the possibility of it being a weirwood dream itself. We have seen in the past that weirwoods are more than capable of sending very vivid dreams to characters, especially considering when Daemon snaps out of it, he is outside in front of Harrenhal's weirwood tree. Could this potentially be the work of the old god sending Daemon some sort of vision in order to let him know what sins he needs to atone for? Or could there be another explanation entirely? But next we get our very first look at Baela and Moondancer in action. In episode 2, we saw that Rhaenyra sent Baela and Moondancer out on patrol to keep an eye out for the movements of the Green forces, and here in episode 3, she does indeed run into Crispin Cole and Sir Gawain Hightower. And this was a really fun scene. It was a straight-up dragon chase scene, with Crispin and company just barely making it to the tree line just before Baela and Moondancer descend upon them. But last, and certainly not least, I would be remiss if I did not touch on the phenomenal scene between Alicent and Rhaenyra at the end of the episode, with Rhaenyra sneaking into King's Landing to have a face-to-face meeting with Alicent, in a last-ditch effort to avoid war before the bloodshed begins. And in this scene we get a major revelation, where Alicent finally realizes for the first time that she may have misinterpreted Viserys' final words, with Rhaenyra also breathing a small sigh of relief, finding out that Viserys didn't choose Aegon over her. And now that the seed of doubt has been planted inside Alicent's head, it should be very interesting to see how she handles that going forward. But that is going to do it for our breakdown of Season 2, Episode 3, Battle of the Burning Mill. Overall, I am really enjoying Season 2 so far, but I would be lying if I didn't say some of the time management issues didn't leave me a little bit concerned as to the pacing going forward. They seem to be spending not nearly enough time on some of the more important events from the book, while at times spending a little too much time on some smaller, insignificant scenes. As much as I enjoyed meeting Ulf the White in this episode, I didn't need a 5-minute introduction to his character where a fraction of the time could have achieved the same end. But I want to give a big thank you to everybody for watching this video, and if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave a like on your way out, and consider subscribing to stay up to date on all of our upcoming House of the Dragon videos. And until next time, keep those tinfoil hats on, Westeros, and I will see you on the next one.